Welcome back. Welcome to another edition of Nain's Shorts, where today our episode is brought to you by the letter A. I know it sounds weird, right? It's not a Sesame riff, so sorry guys. Nothing like that. It is about FMA though. So for all of those of you who have practiced or are familiar with Filipino martial arts, you know that each system has their own striking patterns, or I don't know if we call it a striking pattern as much as you have the 12 angles, right? They teach them to you. I know I originally learned Kiri Tertius 12 angles. So you have 1, you have 2, you have 3, and you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Bam. For those of you who do Kiri Tertia, I'm sorry, that probably wasn't the cleanest or the smoothest, but those are the basic 12 angles, and then you have 12 more, and then you have 12 more, and then you have the left hand, and so on and so on. That is part of the curriculum, and that's awesome. You get a lot of information, and you get a lot to do with them. But the question is, what do you do with those 12 angles once you learn them? You know, and again, part of the curriculum, it's meant to be learned. It's very basic ideas, so you get the understanding of things, and what it can become is so much more later on. But a lot of people stop there. They don't go beyond doing the 12 angles how they are meant to do. Then they start learning techniques, start learning other things, so on and so forth, and maybe we don't go back to them. And we're no different. We have our basic striking pattern, our angles. We have 1, 11, 5, 7. We have our 3s and our 9s based on the clock system. That's what it was created for, to be very basic, understandable, across the board. Anyone who knows a clock understands those angles, and that's why we use the clock system, because we wanted to simplify it and available to everyone else. But even still, people go back to the basic angles of strike. How do we then transition, move on, grow from the basic angles regardless of the system and start using them? So now we're flowing, we're going in and out, we're constantly moving our stick, our hands are being involved, and it just looks random. How do we get to that point? Well, one of the fun ways to get to this point, and it's something that you can practice on your own. You don't necessarily need a class to do this. You don't need a partner to do this. And as a matter of fact, it becomes a lot more fun to practice it on your own, because you can become as creative as you possibly can. And that's literally using your strikes to write letters in the air. Hence the A. So A, there's one line, there's another line, and here's the one across. So I just essentially made an A in the air, and it's a 3-strike pattern. There we go. That's my A. But the thing about it is that there are multiple ways to write the A, because you're in the air. There is no rules on how to do it. If you do your A sideways, now it becomes that one letter. So here's one line, here's the other line, here's the third line. Okay, what if I do it upside down? 1, 2, 3. And I can do that with the entirety of the alphabet. That's 26 different letters. Each one you can do about 4 or 5 different directions. And then you can start creating your own way of striking. At the beginning, it's going to be choppy. Just like when learning how to write for the first time, we write these very blocky letters. So then what happens? What becomes the important part, or how do we work on the idea of making it more flow? And for that, you start wondering, where are the transition points? If I strike completely here and my stick is on this side, well, that's one line right there. How do I get to the next line? Well, it's very obvious. I just swing back. Now I'm on my right shoulder. So where's the third line? Here. Okay, cool. That's for that letter. The moment that I switch it, or I even change the angle, what if I do it diagonally? How would I do a diagonal A? Well, I'd have to come, oh, this is a reverse. There's my transition. Oh, another reverse, but now I'm going down and I end up on this side. And then I go diagonally here. So, okay, so how does that work? So reverse here, there. That's my A. And not only can I change the orientation of the letter that I'm trying to write in the air, I can also change its size. What if my A is here, here, here? I did one line here, I had to come back this way. Oh, what is that? Well, what if I'm fighting multiple opponents? Oh, okay. So now I can even add my targets to the different parts of writing the letter. So I can also, I'm hitting this guy, and I'm coming back to this guy before I move on to the next letter and go back to the second individual. So now I can not only visualize the letters that I'm writing to give myself different attacks, different things, but I can also then start applying them to different opponents or different targets. Because if it's still just one person, what if with the A, I hit the head first, then I hit the shoulder, and then I hit the stomach? Or what if I start with the stomach, and then I go for the knee, and then I hit the knee again? There's my A, 2 points that connect, and then the line across. What if I use a different letter? What if it's a D? I hit the shoulder, then I hit the head as I go for the leg. There's my D. Because again, it's to my side, so for you it probably looks backwards. But again, you're the person that's doing this. This is a solo exercise. You can do it with partners, you can do it with a class, but a lot of the creativity happens when you're there by yourself. You have all these angles, all these different strikes, but now you have to put them together on your own. You have to figure out how do they connect, because you have the block letters. But then what about cursive? What if everything becomes that movement? What is that called? In Filipino martial arts, I've heard them as floretes. These back and forth, these wrist motions that now I can use as transition points so I can get from one letter to the next. So I can start with my fancy A, then there's my fancy B, into my C, into my D, and then E, even F, G, H, I, J. And it looks pretty cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I am being very specific about the lines that I'm creating whenever I'm doing these letters. So at the beginning, it's going to be slow. It's going to be block letters. And that's okay, because again, it's about you and how you're going to use the things that you've been learning at that time, or however much knowledge or little bit of knowledge that you have, to then just start creating. Because what happens when we learn a language? We learn how to write the letters. And it doesn't matter what language it is. Actually, shout out to Carlos, because he made mention that you could use any written language. It could be Chinese, could be Japanese, could be Korean. I don't know about Sanskrit. I don't know. Does anyone write that still? But who knows? Maybe even that. If you know the language, write it out. Write it with your strikes and see what comes of it. And then assign it different body parts, different targets that you can use it on. Then get a partner and say, hey, I want to try something out. And then you can do it that way. But it's a definite way to be able to transition from one thing to the next and use all your strikings that you have, all the patterns that you have, all the angles that you've learned. But now you can put them together, because as we're learning the letters, at first it's blocky. Then we can get a little fancy with it. Then we start writing. And it's as simple as starting with a 2-letter word. 2, right? So T, here's my circle. I can change the orientation. I can do a T here, and my circle here. And this is my O. So I just did 2. I can do the number 2. So now it's here. That's my W, and then I can go back here and do my O. Why switch places? Well, because one, I want to get comfortable with switching between different opponents, But also, I just thought it'd be cool at the time. There is no one way of doing it. You get to choose and dictate where you want to place these letters. And eventually you can start writing bigger words. You can start writing 3-letter words. I just wrote cat. Or you can be a bit more abrasive with it and really stick the letters. That was dog. You can choose however big of a word that you want to spell, but you get to use them all however you need to use them for that moment, for that word, and it's your creativity that's going to drive how many words you do. You can do the entire alphabet, backwards and forwards. You can start doing words, you can start doing sentences, but it's all in just an idea on how do we use all these patterns that we have and take them beyond the structure in which we learned them. Because they're great stuff, don't get me wrong, all that information is very, very useful, but how do we go about using it? This is just one idea on how we can start taking everything that we learn and start bridging the gap between the structure and the unstructured stuff, even though we're using something like the alphabet, which is a fairly structured thing, and the English alphabet is a well-known letters, a very well-known alphabet, but you can start then exploring how well you understand it. And again, it doesn't have to stay right here. You can move from side to side. You can do one letter here, one letter here, go back here, another letter over here, and you can just practice. And if you notice, my feet almost automatically start moving. I start having to adjust depending on the letter that I'm trying to write. It's like your brain understands well enough because you've been writing for a long time where it needs to be to make sure you get that proper punctuation, let's say, for that particular letter, that emphasis. And you can change the weapon. You can start using blades. You can start using knives. It still applies. You can still get all your points across. You can still get all your letters and all your movements to go with it. And you can change the size. You can do right here. With a knife, you have to change the size of the letter that you do. But now they're specific to then the target that you're using. With a blade, you can still do that because, again, you're cutting. You're not necessarily striking through all the way. So all these things then become variables on you practicing something as simple as making an A. And the orientation itself, you can change it. It just doesn't have to be upside down, doesn't have to be sideways. It could be sideways over here, but it can also be vertical in front of you. So if I do one line here, say that's my V, this coming up close to my body, so I'm cutting here down and then I'm cutting up close. This is the two lines that make the A, and then I punch forward. There's that line across. Or what if I come in and I cut down, I extend out, that's my line, and then I pull down from the puño as I grab somebody. That's my A. Same upside down vertical A, but now it's coming out this way. So all the stuff that you have is now being called upon just to write something as simple as the letter A in every possible way that you can imagine. And this is just a fun idea on how do you start flowing. How, if you don't know where your strikes are going, just start writing letters and repeat the letters. Doesn't matter which ones they are, as long as you get them across for what you need them to do. It's all just the alphabet. And you can start writing as much or as little as you'd like, but it's a great way to exercise the idea that you just want to go into flow. You just want things to move. Keep them going. And it doesn't matter what your striking pattern is, what system you've used, because the alphabet is just the alphabet. So you can apply this and then start exploring. Love to see people just doing their different cadenzas, picking out a letter and then, or an entire word, and just start spelling it out, and then just going with even your name. Nain. Right there, right in front. If I wanted to do the full length of it, I could start it here. And every angle that I move becomes my entire name. So hopefully that's an idea, maybe something that you've explored before and didn't take it very far, or maybe something you haven't heard before. But try that. See what that comes of it when you're doing your FMA. Write letters in the air and see what you can create, because ultimately you're going to move and write the same way. It's just you. It's who you are and who you choose to express, how you choose to express. And that's the beauty of it being an art and why it's so much fun. You get to create your own stuff, your own way of moving based on the very art that you've been practicing and teaching for however long, but you are now expressing it how you choose to express it. That's the great thing about language. That's the great thing about the alphabet. And you can then express it any which way you want, even as much as doing it right here. This is all puño. This is all now using it right here. And and I'll actually show it with Rick. Come here, Rick.
God damn it.
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid getting in the pictures.
No, I know. Hold on. I want to hurt you. Okay?
I'm already blind.
Because then, if you, it's better if you visualize it. So we were doing the A, right? Right here, vertical. So he gives me an attack. This is my first line. This is my second line. My third line's here. Now I have a hook. Of course, the empty hand has to be involved as well, but you already had that lesson. So now I can do a whole bunch of things and start a whole new letter. And you can even curse at him and he won't even know it, because fuck you.
Wow. You disrespectful student.
It really is. But the plane doesn't matter, because as you're moving forward, you're also accessing everything else that you have. From this line, you can go a C, and it gives you that entire hook, which you've seen before. But now you're putting it where you want it to at any given time, at any sort of configuration that you feel it could
Hey,
be.
mister, will this also work without weapons in your hand?
Okay, so that's what you're saying. But absolutely. And what I love about empty hands is that I feel like you can add more punctuation to it. Because even as he throws that, I do a C. Here's my period. And that's it. You can also go into just this simple A. Because that's one line, two lines, and then right across. Whether it's a chop, whether it's a punch, it doesn't matter, because ultimately it's just movement.
Can I go now?
Yeah, you can go. Thank you very much.
Jackass.
It's just movement, and you're just giving that movement direction. You're just giving it a form, and then what becomes of it because it's you. So have fun with that. Hopefully it's something that you can start incorporating into your training. If you already have your own way of doing it, by all means, please revisit it if you haven't already, and see what you come up with. See where your flow takes you, where everything becomes what you need it to be, or in this case, what you wish to spell. So thank you very much for joining me on another one of Nain's Shorts. Hopefully you've been entertained. If not, we'll try a little bit harder next time. But until the next time, 3, 2, 1, cut! This is really fun, actually.